So today's sequence you can actually use throughout your entire pregnancy from first to third trimester. Now I will be demoing as someone who is within their third trimester. So if you are within your first or second, of course these stretches, these movements, you can always feel free to take them even further, especially if you already have a quite developed yoga practice. Now, what I want you to keep in mind is to not push through any pains and really listen to your body. If you're finding something extremely uncomfortable, of course, ease up, or you can always take something that is completely different. Make it your own as well if you need. The idea throughout is to be able to, of course, get that movement to the body, keep things a little bit more open, relaxed, gently stretched, and of course to not become breathless throughout. Now, before we begin, I want to make sure that you do have something like a yoga strap or even something like a belt with you. We will be using this, as well as 2 blocks and a bolster or pillows of any sort. Now to begin, I want you to come to a comfortable cross-legged seated position. If this is ever too much on the hips or knees, feel free to sit on a block, on a bolster or pillows, just to keep the hips a bit more elevated. We're gonna bring our hands up over our knees, let those shoulders roll down the back, and have the eyes start to close. Just starting by following that natural breath. Just feeling your sit bones really grounded to the mat or the earth beneath you. Feel the crown of your head reaching tall. Just watching the natural breath, giving yourself the time to really just arrive within your practice, arrive on your mat, and settle in within your body. Now allow yourself to start to lengthen that breath. Now you don't need to strain it, maybe just lengthening it by a count or 2, just so that in time we can start to really expand the capacity that our lungs can hold, that our ribs can expand. Feeling with every inhale, the air, the energy, expanding every inch and corner of the body, bringing in all that positivity, bringing in contentment. And as we breathe out, just allow yourself to feel like you're just letting go of anything that no longer serves you. The feeling of release. Now as we continue to take those nice long breaths, I want you to rest your hands over your belly. Just allow yourself to still take those deep breaths with every inhale, allowing the stomach to fill with air and rise a bit. And every exhale, feel the stomach, the belly, just relaxing. Feel any connection to the energy of your baby within, the energy of the growth that's happening. You can notice any pulsating of energy, or maybe any movement that may be happening. Use your breath to connect to your belly, to your baby. And really just take it all in. Again, we're drawing that awareness to within ourselves. Allow your hands to rest back over the knees, and with those next few breaths, just give your body that nice scan from head to toe, acknowledging every muscle, every joint, all injuries or any soreness. Really becoming aware of any limitations that you may be having, so you can respect that throughout your entire practice. Allowing those shoulders to roll forwards a few times, nice big but slow movements. And roll the shoulders backwards a few, just bringing some of that sensation to our bodies. And letting those shoulders rest. A few light blinks, have the eyes begin to open up. And we'll start with that right ear, bringing it to our right shoulder. Right hand reaches over to the opposite side, the opposite ear, and lightly tug down. Of course, you can play around with this stretch as needed, maybe nodding the head, finding the tightest points, just to hold. You can always play around with that left arm, maybe reaching it out to the side, or even wrapping it behind the back. Find what works, what feels the best, because we want to feel that release of any tension within our necks where we tend to hold it most. Just some nice breaths, trying to relax a bit with every exhale. And gently letting go, bringing that left ear to the left shoulder. Left hand over to the opposite side, lightly tugging down. Again, you can always nod the head, play around with that right arm. Find what works best for that stretch, find the tightest points, and just hold while you breathe. And gently releasing. Here's where we're going to take that strap. You're going to bring it out in front of you. Just open it up, keeping it between the hands. And we'll take a bit of a wider grip. Always start wider because we can shrink the distance in time. So you're going to start with your hands reaching out in front of you. Begin that inhale and lift those arms all the way up to the ceiling. Allow the shoulders to roll with you. And as you exhale, let the arms start to drop down behind the body. And we're going to continue as you inhale, rise those arms back up. And as you exhale, bring them down in front. Continuing through this movement, following the pace of your breath, keeping it nice and smooth, nice and slow, not rapid breathing, not breathless yet. Really tuning into how your shoulders feel. Notice how they roll and move with you, the shoulder blades, how they might gently squeeze together a bit at times. Just feel that movement. Noticing as well that maybe you'll have a bit of burn in the biceps, especially if you're not as used to this. Just taking a few more rounds. We want to get into the shoulders, just get some of that mobility into our bodies. Take one last round for yourself, and when those hands come down in front, just let yourself toss that strap to the side for now, and just give your arms, your shoulders, maybe just a nice little shake. Now we're going to take that right arm and reach it across the body. Use your left arm to help draw it in closer to the chest. Now if you find your elbow bends a lot, you can always grab your elbow and pull that in instead. You can always just find what works. We just want to relax the shoulders through this stretch. If your neck is still a bit tight, maybe wiggle it around or just remain nice and static. And switching it up, we're going to reach that left arm across the body. Use the right arm to help pull it in nice and tight. Enjoy some of those breaths. Keep those shoulders relaxed. And release. We're going to take that right hand, bring it to the mat beside you. Reach that left arm up, and first, I want you to really extend that arm to the ceiling. Feel your whole body expanding upwards. And then take that side bend. We're bending over to that right side, gazing up towards the ceiling a bit. Feeling that left hip and knee almost pressing down towards the mat as we reach out to that side wall. Feel every inhale expanding the ribs, letting them rise towards the ceiling to open things up. And lifting ourselves back up, left hand to the mat. Reach that right arm up. Remember to really expand to the ceiling before taking that side bend. Right hip and knee this time feels like it's pressing down as we keep reaching to that side wall, gazing up a bit. Nice deep breaths in here. And letting ourselves come back to the center. We're going to step those feet out in front of us. Now, of course, letting yourself lean back as far as you may need to make room for that belly. And we're going to rock the knees a little side to side. Just nice and gentle. A nice little massage for our glutes as well. Starting to loosen up a bit within our hips. And stopping back in the center. Have those feet step a little bit further apart. We're going to have the knees drop fully to the left side, all the way to the mat. See if you can get a nice 90-degree angle with those knees if possible. We're going to sit tall and walk those hands outside of our left shin. Starting tall, we want to feel that back hip, that right hip, almost like it's rolling forwards and down towards the mat. Now this might feel great for your hips, just stay here. If you do want to take it a little bit further and your belly's not in the way, then of course you can walk those hands further out to the side, letting your belly almost rest down on that front leg. You can even take it a bit more restorative, bringing that bolster or pillow in front of you and resting the elbows down on top. You can see what your body can handle today, making sure that you, again, don't overdo anything. Nice and gentle always to start. Just some nice deep breaths here, maybe closing your eyes to focus on the breath, letting it guide you through the body. Keep creating that awareness as to how everything is feeling. That mindfulness, we don't label anything as good or bad. It just simply is what it is, and we learn to accept where we are in this moment. Just feeling where we're at in this moment. And creating a little bit of enjoyment even with where we're at. Now if your chest is lowered, let it start to lift back up. We're going to walk ourselves back to the center, lifting those knees up and just simply let them drop to the opposite side, that right side. Again, trying to get that nice 90 degrees with the knees. Starting tall, walk those hands outside of the right knee. If this feels good, just remain here. Allow the hips to open up. Otherwise, you can once again maybe sink that chest down or grab that bolster outside of your knees. Rest the elbows down on top. Take that moment to settle in, to find what works. Again, maybe close the eyes. Enjoy some of that nice breath here. Once again, if your chest is lowered, let it start to lift back up. We'll walk those hands, those knees back up to the center and come back to a cross-legged position. Hands just draped over the knees. As we inhale, I want you to start to puff that chest out to the front. Begin to draw a nice circle with the body. Just really starting to get into that chest, drawing nice big circles. Now, if you're in that third trimester, work really on that chest. That is what's puffing out to the front, and the shoulder blades are pressing apart at the back. If you're in your first or second trimester, you can of course take bigger body rolls, really work with the torso. That way you're getting into the spine, drawing that mobility in, working with the pelvis as well. So you can feel what works with the body. Nice breaths. Let yourself roll in the opposite direction. And letting yourself roll back to the center. Here we're simply going to swing those knees to one side, make our way to a neutral tabletop. We're going to have those wrists underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. Just working a little bit through our cat and cow. As you inhale, sink that stomach down, tilting the head and pelvis up. Exhaling, reach high with that mid-back, tuck the head and pelvis under. Inhaling, sink, squeeze those shoulder blades together. And exhaling, rise, press those shoulder blades apart. And just continue through that movement. Keep following your breath. Now, if you are in, of course, that first or second trimester, really feel yourself almost exaggerating that cat and cow movement. We really want to get into the spine. Again, work with that pelvis tip and tuck it. If you're in that third trimester, belly is just too big, it's very uncomfortable for you, we don't need to sink as deep. An option here for that third trimester, you can simply remain in a tabletop. Every inhale, just allowing the stomach to hang, to feel it just really sinking a little bit. And then as you exhale, feel yourself almost drawing the baby a little bit closer to that spine. Just gentle ins and outs. Still taking a few more rounds here for yourself. Again, find what works. And after that next natural exhale, come back to your neutral tabletop. Palms nice and flat to the mat, fingertips spread out. We're going to use our shoulders as the guide here. Start to draw circles with the shoulders like we're drawing a circle around those hands, around those wrists. Maybe every few cycles go in the opposite direction. Just getting some movement and mobility into our wrists here. I want you to really feel the finger joints gently pressing into the mat. The weight shifting through all four corners of the palms. Still be working with our breath every step of the way. And letting yourself come back to the center. We're going to try to tuck our toes underneath here. Start to sit back towards the heels. Now, if it's comfortable, you can bear all that weight down, let everything open up. If this is too much, just stay lifted on the knees instead. You just want to shake out the wrists a bit here, roll them out a little, just get that blood flowing again. Then bring those hands and knees and toes back to the mat, maybe give the ankles a bit of a roll. Here we're going to step that left foot out behind us, tuck the toes, and just start to press that heel down. Trying to relax it towards the mat. You can always pulse if that's comfortable or just remain static. Now we'll roll to the inside edge of that back foot. Left arm reaches up towards the ceiling in a supported side plank. As we get a little bit better balance and stability here, take that gaze up towards the ceiling. Start squeezing the glutes just gently, not too much. Let those hips press forward slightly. Now here, if you're comfortable, you can always try to lift that back foot away from the mat, eventually getting it parallel to the mat below. If that's a little too much, maybe just simply practicing tapping the foot away from the mat might help. It'll help you see sort of what your body needs to hold the pose. Keep that breath calm, slow. And letting everything release back down to the mat, back to that tabletop, where we'll take a quick child's pose. Let those knees open up, sit back towards the heels, belly sinks towards the mat, and arms reach out in front. If it's ever too much, you can always stay lifted on the elbows, allowing the forehead to sink to the mat. Lifting yourself back up to a nice tabletop, where we'll of course take that right foot, step it out behind us, tuck the toes under, press that heel down. Again, let it relax towards the mat, maybe pulsing if you preferred, or just remain a bit static. Let yourself start to roll to the inside edge of that back foot. Right arm reaches all the way up. Remember, you can start to take your gaze up in time. Gentle squeeze with the glutes, hips pressing forward slightly, nothing too intense. When or if you're ready, back foot slowly starts to lift away from the mat again. Maybe just practice tapping it away, eventually holding it parallel to the mat below. Nice, calm, deep breaths. Allowing everything to come back to the mat, back to that tabletop, to take a nice, gentle child's pose. And lifting yourself back up to that neutral tabletop. Now I want you to feel those palms, again, making sure they're flat to the mat, fingertips spread out, working with just our shoulder blades here. As you inhale, squeeze those shoulder blades together. And as you exhale, press those shoulder blades apart. And just continue with that movement. We want to keep that pelvis nice and still. Same with that stomach. Allow the stomach, the belly, to just relax here. Working again with just those shoulder blades. Now, if you are in that first or second trimester and you do want to take it a little bit further, you can simply walk the knees further out behind so you have more weight in those shoulder blades, or even come up to a plank and do that same motion from there. Again, finding what works. Listen to how the body feels as you go through every little bit of movement. We don't need to strain anything too much. And take that last pulse, coming back to neutral. Now here, I want you to start to walk those hands a little bit further out in front and then wider apart, letting the fingers flare out slightly. Take that right shoulder and we're going to roll it forwards and dip it down towards the mat, bending into that left elbow, just so the right arm can straighten up. Lifting ourselves back to the center. Same with that left shoulder. Roll it forwards, dip it down to the mat. Back up. One more time with the right. Back up. Last time with the left. And back to center. Come back to that neutral tabletop. Now here we're going to take our blocks and bring them out in front of us on the mat, starting with a nice medium setting. We're going to take a child's pose and let ourselves have the forearms and wrists rest right on top of those blocks. Position them so that way they're a little bit further away from the body, letting the belly and chest sink towards the mat. Just a nice few breaths here, nothing much. We just want that upper body to get a little bit of an opening in the chest, the back to get a little bit of that curve. Gently starting to lift our way back up. And we're going to just take those blocks to our highest setting, just side by side in front of you on the mat. Our hands are going to rest on those blocks. We're going to take that left foot and step it forwards outside of our hands, so to the left side of the mat. Now keep the knee right above the ankle if we can, and if you're able to take it further, let yourself drag that back leg further down the mat. This way we can really get our hips to start to sink forwards and down, the chest lifting like we're peeling it away from the mat and puffing it forwards. We really want to open up the front of our body a little bit, just get a gentle stretch. Again, nothing too deep, nothing too much or intense. If this feels tight on the body, you feel like you're pulling anything, the stomach is coning at all, creating that little cone shape, definitely let those hips lift up slightly. Let that chest sink a little bit instead of puffing it forwards. So there's always ways to modify, to just feel ourselves, our bodies gently opening, but not taking anything too far. Allow the neck to relax a bit. A few nice deep breaths. And of course, still if you're within that first or second trimester and you want to allow the hips to open even more, you can always roll to the outside edge of that left foot, letting the knee start to hang open towards the mat. Position the hands to help hold the body. You can even drop the blocks to a lower setting or bring those hands down to the mat all together. Again, just take that time to find out where you're at and hold for, again, those few nice deep breaths. Now, using our blocks still under the hands, we're going to start to walk them towards the back, straightening up that front leg. Now here, I want you to keep your hips decently over that back knee, letting the chest start to sink down towards the mat in front of you. If you find that it's quite comfortable, again, you can lower the blocks or maybe remove them altogether. I want you to really start to feel a nice stretch down the front of that leg, maybe even flexing into that foot. Nice few breaths here. And starting to walk those hands forwards again with the blocks. We're going to drag that back leg a little bit closer, making it easier to simply switch the feet up. Taking our right foot this time, stepping it forwards outside of the right hand to the right side of the mat. Again, drag that back leg further down the mat if it's comfortable, allowing those hips to start to sink forwards and down, chest peeling up and away from the mat, pressing forwards. But of course, if that's too much for the belly, if you're feeling the coning of the belly, tightness, uncomfortable tightness, let the hips lift slightly, the chest, let it curve a little. So again, we're not pressing through any pain or discomfort. We of course want to be able to understand how to sit within some discomfort that we're feeling, but understanding when it's a little too far for our bodies. If you're feeling sharp pinches, sharp pains, if you know that the next day you wake up and you're in pain or extremely sore, you probably went a little too far. So it's creating the awareness also just in time. That's why we pace ourselves throughout. And don't forget, if you're in that first or second trimester, if you want to take it further, let yourself roll to the outside edge of that right foot. The knee starts to hang open. You can always lower the blocks or hands to the mat. Nice breaths here. Now, still using our hands on the blocks, we're going to walk those hands towards the back, straightening up that front leg. Again, keeping the hips decently over the knees. Let the chest start to sink forwards and down. Of course, you can lower the blocks or remove them all together. Maybe flexing into that front foot to help deepen the stretch through the calf, the Achilles tendon. Nice few breaths. And starting to walk those hands forwards again. This way we can drag that back leg a little closer, making it easier to come back to a tabletop, where we're just gonna slide our blocks right off to the side. Take a nice child's pose here. Once again, let the knees open, sink back towards the heels, walk those arms all the way out in front, forehead and chest sink towards the mat. And gently starting to lift ourselves back up, just enough to shift our weight to one side. Bring those feet out in front of us. Just give them a nice little shake. Now we're going to come to our bound angle or butterfly legs, bringing the soles of the feet together, knees apart. Of course, if your belly's in the way, let those feet come a little bit further away from the body so there's more room for everything to open. Now you can simply just remain here, sitting nice and tall, and just calmly letting those knees open up. If you're able to take it a little bit further, of course you want to hang on to those feet. Use that chest to be what helps reach forwards and sink down towards the feet. You can always take even a more restorative version with that bolster, with those pillows. Simply placing it in front of you on the mat or even up on those shins to rest the arms on. Let the body just start to rest and sink. Keeping that breath still nice and smooth. Long inhales, long exhales. And if your chest is a bit lowered, let it start to lift back up. Any props, just slide it off to the side. We're going to let those knees lift back up together, step those feet in front, and just let the knees rock a little side to side, just a bit of movement back into our hips. And stopping in the center. Now here we're going to just take a nice little seated figure four. We'll take our left foot, let it cross over that right thigh. Now we want to let that left knee try to open up. Use the hands, walking them closer to the body, lifting that chest, creating less of a distance between your shin and your chest. Of course, if belly is in the way, just allow the hands to be a little bit further back, just simply resting there for a bit. You can always even let the knee sway a little side to side. And gently just start to release from the pose. Of course, we're going to do the other side, right foot. Cross it over that left thigh. Let the knee hang open. If you need, walk those hands closer, less distance. It'll open up the hips more. Or if belly's in the way, any pelvic issues, make sure you walk the hands further back, creating more distance, making it a bit more comfortable, and maybe swaying a little side to side with those knees if you'd like. And stopping back in the center, we'll release ourselves from that stretch. We'll start to make ourselves come down onto our back. Letting yourself, of course, maybe use the hands to help your way down on one side. Nice and flat onto the back here. We won't be here for too long, but we want to take a gentle twist. So we're going to bring those knees a bit closer to the chest, hug them tight, and allow them to fall to that left side, letting the arms open up nice and wide, those shoulder blades as flat to the mat as they can get, letting gravity just take those knees. Of course, if you're in that third trimester, this may not be the most comfortable, so you can simply take a bolster or pillow, toss it underneath the knees to keep them lifted. Maybe between the knees is most comfortable. Or simply just take a side lying pose, giving your body a little bit of that side lying rest that it needs, belly resting against the mat as well. Just taking those nice gentle breaths. Of course, if you're in that deep twist, the breath may not be as heavy, as deep. You want to keep it nice and gentle. Don't give in to that rapid breathing. Keep it smooth. Gently start to let those knees lift back up to the center. Hugging them again once and nice and tight to your chest. Let them fall to that right side. Open those arms back up, shoulder blades as flat to the mat as they can get. Again, maybe tossing the pillow underneath your knees, between the knees, or take that side lying pose. Gently letting those knees start to lift back up, hugging them to the chest. If you've got that belly, open up the knees a little bit just to make room and rock a little side to side. Stopping back in the center. Now instead of our typical Shavasana, we're going to actually roll to one side. Use those hands to help lift your way up. We're going to come to a cross-legged seated position. This is where we're going to take our final little bit of Shavasana or closing meditation today. Allow those hands to drape over the knees just like we did at the start. Shoulders rolling down the back, let them relax. Sit bones firm into the mat, crown of that head feels like it's reaching tall. Let the eyes close. Take maybe a few nice deep breaths and just return to the natural breathing, allowing yourself to simply just connect once again into your body. Let the natural breath guide you throughout. And if you'd like, you can always have the hands resting on the stomach, maybe feeling any movement within. Maybe just the pulsating of energy, that connection to the little one within, the growth, again, that's happening within our bodies. Just sitting to appreciate the moment. Appreciate your body, what it's being able to create, what it's doing for you right now. Sitting within that acceptance, that patience with your body. Allow the breath to just create a nice warmth within. Now allowing yourself to just start to exhale all remaining air. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose and sigh through the mouth. Bringing those hands together at heart center so we can rub those palms together, all that nice heat and energy of our own. And once again, we'll have those hands placed over our bellies, right around the belly button, feeling our own energy entering back into the body. Letting the hands come back to heart center, the eyes to start to blink their way open. Namaste.